We're on page 430, and I'm going to preview the titles, so the headings: Changing Transportation, The Railroads Arrive, Moving Goods and People, and I also want to look at the vocabulary words: clipper ships and transformed. And I want to look at these questions. Analyzing primary sources. Why did the canal have national benefits as well as meet states' needs? And then number 2, do you think this writer approves of or disapproves of the construction of the Erie Canal? Explain. And then we'll look at this picture. 1851, the Flying Cloud, a famed clipper ship, sailed from New York City to San Francisco in 89 days. So here we go, we got the ship. This is probably related to transportation. Alright, so let's look at how important transportation is. Changing transportation. Improvements in transportation contributed to the success of the new American industries. Between 1800 and 1850, crews built thousands of miles of roads and canals. By connecting lakes and rivers, canals opened new shipping routes. In 1807, inventor Robert Fulton launched his first steamboat, the Clermont, on the Hudson River. Steamboats made fast upstream travel possible. They carried goods and passengers more cheaply and quickly along inland waterways than flatboats or sail-powered vessels did. In the 1840s, builders began to widen and deepen canals to make space for steamboats. By 1860, about 3,000 steamboats traveled the country's major rivers and canals, as well as the Great Lakes. This encouraged the growth of cities such as Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Chicago. Sailing technology also improved in the 1840s. The new clipper ships featured tall sails and sleek hulls. They could sail 300 miles or 483 kilometers per day, as fast as most steamships at the time. Clipper ships got their name because they clipped time from long journeys. Before the clippers, the voyage from New York to Great Britain took about 21 to 28 days. A clipper ship could usually cut that time in half. Now, clipper ships, this one is from San Francisco, sailed from New York to San Francisco. In the city of San Diego, clipper ships were actually very, very common. So much so that when San Diego got their own basketball team in the NBA, they named themselves the San Diego Clippers. Eventually that team would move to Los Angeles and become the Los Angeles Clippers, but that name comes from this type of ship, the clipper ships. Moving on to the railroads arrive. The first railroads in the United States ran along short stretches of track that connected mines with nearby rivers. Horses pulled these early trains. The first steam-powered passenger locomotive began running in Britain in 1829. A year later, Peter Cooper designed and built the first American steam-powered locomotive. The Tom Thumb, as it was called, got off to a slow start. It actually lost a race staged against a horse-drawn train when its engine failed. Before long, however, engineers had improved the technology. By 1840, steam locomotives were pulling trains in the United States. In 1840, the United States had almost 3,000 miles, or 4,828 kilometers, of railroad track. By 1860, the nation's tracks totaled about 31,000 miles, about 49,890 kilometers, mostly in the North and Midwest. The new rail lines connected many cities. One line linked the cities of New York and Buffalo. Another connected Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Railway builders connected these eastern lines to lines being built farther west in Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. By 1860, the nation's railroads formed a network that united the Midwest and the East. Moving goods and people. The impact of improved transportation was felt deeply in the western areas of the country. Before canals and railroads, farmers sent their crops down the Mississippi River to New Orleans. From there, goods sailed to the East Coast or to other countries. This took a considerable amount of time and often caused goods to be more expensive. Railways and canals transformed trade in these regions. The opening of the Erie Canal in 1825 and later the railroad networks allowed grain, livestock, and dairy products to move directly from the Midwest to the East. Improvements in transportation provided benefits to both businesses and consumers. Farmers and manufacturers could now move goods faster or more cheaply. As a result, consumers could purchase them at lower prices than in the past. One newspaper reported, Although the motive for the construction of the canal was to supply a state need, it soon became apparent that its mission was much more extended and the benefits were to be national. The Great West soon felt the influence of this avenue to the eastern market. The growth of the states north of the Ohio and east of the Mississippi was stimulated, the increase of population from 1820 to 1840 being over 300%. The railroads also played an important role in the settlement of the Midwest and the growth of its industry. Fast, affordable train travel brought people into Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. The populations of these states grew. New towns and industries developed as more people moved into the area.